everybody, welcome to today's video. Before I start the video, I'd just like to say if you're not subscribed, maybe consider subscribing, as I'm on the route to 1,000 subscribers this year. And if you want to support the channel, just press that button down below. Anyway, let's get into today's video. Today's video, we will be talking about the decline of Chrysler, how it went from one of the players in the big three automotive group into making minivans. Anyway, let's get into the video. The early years of Chrysler starts in the 1920s, when Walter Chrysler founded the company with the goal of building high-quality, innovative cars. Early Chrysler vehicles introduced groundbreaking features such as hydraulic brakes and high-compression engines. One of Chrysler's most ambitious cars of the time was the Chrysler Airflow, which was one of the first vehicles to focus on aerodynamics and design. Powered by a 5.3-liter straight-A engine, the Airflow produced 138 horsepower and 265 foot-pounds of torque, showcasing Chrysler's forward-thinking approach of the time. Though not widely accepted and considered a flop at the time, the Airflow set a precedent for future automotive engineering within the company. And throughout the 1940s, Chrysler also played a role in building military vehicles during World War II, expanding its influence in multiple sectors. And in the post-war era, Chrysler introduced new V8 engines, including the Chrysler HEMI-V8, a legendary engine that would go on to define the brand's muscle car legacy later on. Now, the 1950s and 60s marked Chrysler's peak years, as the company became synonymous with luxury, performance, and cutting-edge technology. Cars like the Chrysler New Yorker and Chrysler Imperial set the standard for luxury sedans. One of Chrysler's signature engines was the HEMI-V8, which debuted in the 1950s. The 392 HEMI-V8, found in models like the Chrysler 300, produced 375 horsepower and 420 foot-pounds of torque, showcasing Chrysler's ability to blend performance with luxury. By the 1960s, the 426 HEMI-V8 was the most powerful in Chrysler's lineup, delivering 425 horsepower and 490 foot-pounds of torque. It was famous for its dominance in NASCAR and street performance, solidifying Chrysler's pace in the muscle car era. The Chrysler 300 also became a performance icon, epitomizing luxury and muscle with an engine option like the 440 Magnum V8, which produced 375 horsepower and 480 foot-pounds of torque. We skip ahead the 1970s all the way to the 1980s, which is a turbulent time for Chrysler, ending in a government bailout in 1980 after the company faced near bankruptcy. To stay afloat, Chrysler embraced the development of smaller, more fuel-efficient cars built on the K-car platform. I made a video about this a while ago about how Lee Iacocca saved Chrysler, but I'll sum it up for you here. And if you want a further, more in-depth explanation, check out that video, linked in the description below. Anyway, a couple standout models of this era were the Chrysler LeBaron, although considered a flop at the time, and the Chrysler Aries, which were both known for their affordability. And the 2.2-liter inline-4 in these, which was the bread and butter for Chrysler at the time, produced just 92 horsepower and 108 foot-pounds of torque, offering decent economy, but not the performance Chrysler was once known for. Although the K-cars saved Chrysler financially for the time, it also marked a shift away from luxury performance cars the company had once been known for. The brand focused on building practical, low-cost vehicles that were easy to mass produce. Performance also took a backseat to economy and reliability. The 1990s represented Chrysler's true height in the modern era, thanks to its overwhelming success of its minivan lineup, the Chrysler Town & Country and the Chrysler Voyager, which were incredibly popular with families, dominating the minivan market. The 3.3-liter V6 engine found in the Chrysler Town & Country produced 150 horsepower and 180 foot-pounds of torque, striking a balance between power and fuel economy. Chrysler also revived its performance roots with the Chrysler 300M, a luxury sedan powered by a 3.5-liter high-output V6 that generated 250 horsepower and 250 foot-pounds of torque. This engine, paired with a smooth transmission, made the 300M a solid performer in its class. Chrysler's commitment to producing cars that appealed to both performance enthusiasts and practical drivers defined this decade overall. The Chrysler Concorde, a full-size sedan, also offered a 3.5-liter V6 with 200 horsepower and 225 foot-pounds of torque, giving the consumers another solid choice in the Chrysler lineup. Despite the success of the minivans, the 1990s marked Chrysler's peak, with a diverse range of vehicles appealing to different segments while still retaining a core of performance and luxury. Now, the early 2000s saw Chrysler trying to maintain its momentum with the introduction of the Chrysler 300. This vehicle was a game changer, making a return to large, luxurious sedans with the powerful engine options like the 3.5-liter V6 in early models and the 5.7-liter HEMI V8, which at that point produced 340 horsepower and 390 foot-pounds of torque. The 300 was praised for its design and excellent driving dynamics and strong engine offerings. It offered consumers a taste of luxury and performance at an affordable price. We also had an oddball, the Chrysler PT Cruiser, which was introduced in 2000, which was another popular vehicle that mixed quirky design with practicality. Powered by a 2.2-liter inline-4 engine producing 150 horsepower and 165 foot-pounds of torque, the PT Cruiser was more about style and versatility than outright performance. While the 300 and the PT Cruiser were beloved by some, they couldn't carry Chrysler's entire portfolio. Chrysler's struggles became more evident throughout the 2000s, and despite some hits, the company faced increased pressure in a changing automotive market. The 300 was one of the last great Chrysler sedans, but by 2009, Chrysler declared bankruptcy, beginning a new chapter in the company's history. And by the 2010s, Chrysler had undergone a dramatic transformation. The brand that had once stood for performance and luxury had shifted its focus almost entirely to minivans. The Chrysler Pacifica, replacing the Chrysler Town & Country, became the brand's flagship model. The Pacifica offered two powertrains, a 3.6-liter V6 producing 287 horsepower and 262 foot-pounds of torque in the standard version, and a hybrid powertrain delivering 260 horsepower combined. While the Pacifica's family-friendly features and hybrid options were well received, it symbolized Chrysler's decline from a diverse lineup, focusing primarily on a single product category. The Chrysler 200, which was an attempt to revitalize the brand's sedan lineup, was introduced in 2011. The base model came with a 2.4-liter inline-4 producing 173 horsepower and 166 foot-pounds of torque, while the higher-end models features the 3.6 Pentastar, which produced 283 horsepower in this model. Despite the engine options, the 200 failed to compete with more established players in the mid-size sedan market, ultimately being discontinued in 2017. In the 2010s, Chrysler's product line consists of primarily the Pacifica minivan and the aging Chrysler 300 sedan. While the 300 still offered the powerful 5.7-liter HEMI, Chrysler's entire lineup had become so limited and became the shadow of what the company once was. The brand was reduced to just offering a couple vehicles, primarily focusing on minivans with few options for performance or luxury. Then came the influence of Stellantis. In 2021, Fiat Chrysler Automobiles merged with the PSA Group to form Stellantis, a massive automotive conglomerate. With Stellantis' arrival, Chrysler's fate was sealed even further. As Stellantis streamlined its brand lineup, Chrysler vehicles were regulated to a smaller portion of the market. The company's remaining models, the Chrysler 300 and Pacifica, offered limited appeal in increasingly competitive markets, as Stellantis' overachieving strategy to focus on cost efficiency, cutting Chrysler's options for performance and innovation, as Chrysler just became another brand within Stellantis' vast portfolio, with fewer and fewer resources dedicated to reviving it. Today, Chrysler exists as a shadow of its former self. The brand's lineup is largely limited to the Chrysler Voyager, new for 2025, and the Chrysler Pacifica minivan. Despite these models' continued success in their respective segments, they don't represent the diversity and innovation Chrysler once stood for. The company no longer competes in performance or luxury segments like it did in its heyday, and its offerings are more focused on practicality and family needs. Chrysler's decline is a cautionary tale of how quick a brand can fall from its peak. From its iconic HEMI engines and muscle car roots in the 1960s to the dominance of its minivans in the 1990s, Chrysler's legacy is defined by innovation, but in the 2010s, its focus narrowed so much that it became associated with only minivans. Whether or not Chrysler can recapture its former glory is to be seen, but for now, the brand is largely defined by a narrow set of family vehicles, leaving behind the diversity and innovation that made it a name to be reckoned with in the past. Anyway, that's going to be it for today. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to leave a like down below, and if you like this video, consider subscribing. Comment down below, have you owned any Chrysler products? Anyway, I'll catch you in the next one.